I love high-intensity crime dramas, and then when they're non-English, I'm drawn to them even more. Now, the second season of the Swedish Netflix show Snabba Cash is here, but is it a must-watch? The entrepreneurial jet set and the criminal world are more brutal, chaotic, and ruthless than ever. When these two worlds collide, loyalty, friendships, and business partners will be tested in the never-ending quest for easy money. So Season 2 continues with the high-pressure situations that continually stress our characters. Leia is still our main protagonist, and while the series does highlight her startup Target Coach and its impending IPO, this story arc takes a massive backseat in this season, even though it was a huge focus in the previous season. Now, I know I'm starting off with a big negative, but this is probably the weakest portion to Season 2. The hustle that Leia had to do in that first season to get Target Coach funding I thought was intense, and still a tiny bit of that is present right now, but the storyline almost feels forgotten for a lot of the show. Even the dealings with Tomas Thorm are reduced in priority, and they do pop up every now and then and feel like they could cause some monster-sized problems for Leia, but at least this storyline helps to influence her decisions, which then lead into the main crux of the current season. We get a lot of returning characters like Ravi, Nala, Osman, Marco, and Tim, but then we also get the introduction to more prominent players like Jamal, Zaki, Jalal, and Liban. I think this season has amped up the anxiety and tension a ton. Each episode continues to maintain a mounting apprehension for our characters, and then because most of these have at least mild ties to crime, the threat of violence is pretty much ever present. The story takes a three-pronged approach to drive the narrative, with each threatening to just intersect at any given moment. Now, obviously, we follow Leia as she's the lead in this show, but we see her get mixed up in some situations that feel well beyond her expertise or her control. But then it's not out of her character because we saw a bunch of the fake it till you make it mentality that she had in the first season as she hustled to get her startup funded and then off the ground. Evan Ahmad, who plays Leia, is able to convincingly translate her fear, frustration, anger, and even devastation through the screen. And when a moment comes where she has this guttural scream in front of a mirror, it's deserved and palpable. I loved Ravi's story arc this season as well because we get to see this tough-as-nails dealer show some softness in a few situations. There's also this look that he has that shows an almost crisis of faith, where he's examining his life and his choices, and then how he's going to move forward. Now, there are times when he and Leia interact, and the heaviness that's shared between them, I thought it was tough to watch because we know that there's so much emotion tied up in the events that had transpired in the first season. There's also this extended scene with Ravi where he's barely speaking. We're just watching him think and contemplate. And the lack of dialogue doesn't even come into play because Dara Fungulo Bozella, who plays Ravi, he says so much through his emotive style. The body language and facial expressions convey everything that the character is experiencing, and it was really awesome to watch. And finally, we have a character named Zaki, played by Adam Case. Now, this dude takes a ton of prominence in the storytelling. He's a new competitor for Ravi in the drug scene, and then Zaki is just a ruthless adversary. But he's also incredibly charismatic, so he's able to lure in people to participate with him without force or intimidation. And he's a wonderful story addition because of how instrumental he is to so much of the drama that plays out. Now, I didn't want to root for him, but he's still engaging to watch, and he continually held my interest throughout the story. The twists and turns in this season are somewhat predictable, but that doesn't mean that they're not impactful or captivating. I found myself very invested in all of the character arcs, and then because of how certain characters are involved in the schemes, it creates a lot of dread, knowing that because of the criminal circumstances, the risk of peril is pretty high. The pacing for these 6 episodes is driving and it's efficient, but it's not rushed. It's an intense watching experience, but because of the high level of drama that's created, I couldn't stop binging. And I do like how the story will take these breathers every now and then, just allowing us to settle a bit, which then makes the ramping back up so much more exciting. Now, from a technical perspective, I love the consistent filming choices of following characters as they walk along. The actors are placed right in the center of the frame, and the camera just literally walks right behind. Now, it's not shaky cam, but we do get the sense of walking motion. And I also like how the camera will then spin around to lead the character after following them for several seconds. That's this way to create intimacy with the character and then a connection within the scene. And we are placed right in the action, making us a participant rather than just a viewer. This season isn't afraid to also showcase brutal and abrupt violence. Now, it was a little shocking at first, but fits within the narrative really well. And the characters aren't just committing acts of violence randomly. Each has a specific purpose, and they're carried out quickly and then decisively. Now, because characters are so willing to engage in violence, this increases the suspense of the storytelling. We don't really ever get to let our guard down. And it also made me a bit fearful to get attached to any one character. I mean, the possibility was always at least slight that anybody could get hurt. And this also helped me to realize how invested I had become in certain characters. When I was fearful of possible outcomes, it just showed how much I was captivated by the plot. Now for me, this was a much stronger season than the first, and it showcases how much drama, action, suspense, and even anxiety that can be packed into 6 40-ish minute episodes. And not only are the characters very compelling, but their storylines are worth investing in, taking scenarios that may be completely unrelatable and making them enthralling because of the character arcs. So overall, Season 2 of Snabba Cash is a strong entry in the crime drama genre. The acting is intense, with a narrative that creates stressful situations and then forces the characters to maneuver through the changing landscape of criminal activity. The production is beautiful to look at, with a lot of oversaturation, especially in the darker colors, creating a gritty but bleak outlook. The camera work is engaging, allowing the audience to become intimate with the players, but still maintain a bit of separation to be able to question their morals. The lack of focus on Leia's startup was noticeable, making it a little distracting during the times that the story would return to that arc, but the intensity of the season is addictive, leaving the door open to continue with the characters should that opportunity exist. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and a lot of brutal and bloody violence. I give Season 2 of Snabba Cash 4.5 out of 5 couches. So are you a fan of this show? Which character is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.